back down and shut your trap. It's time.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping It Sports with M3, right here on All Noise Radio.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
Are you ready?
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Are you ready? Are you ready for
Place for the best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic.
Hey man, this time we're gonna do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's your host, M3, Mike Rosansky. Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everything's going well for you here on this Monday, the 9th day of March. Oh, what a time to be alive. I mean, warm weather already. I didn't think, that week I typically refer to every year as Tease Week was supposed to come for another couple of weeks here. But hey, day for people here on the East Coast to actually consider going to the beach, hanging out, chilling, no jacket on whatsoever. Now, in all likelihood, it's going to come back and hit us with some more 40-degree weather late in the week. But hey, we're not complaining for today, as it brings a more positive thought to everyone's mind, which is, warm weather. And during that warm weather, you get some of the best time of the year. I feel like I'm regurgitating the beginning of last week's show with saying this, but spring training, NCAA tournament, a week and a half away now, people. Selection Sunday, this Sunday. You got the conference tournaments taking place across this week. I know a couple of the smaller leagues had their tournaments over the weekend. The NBA, you're right in the grind here, and we're at that point in the year where you get a great game seemingly every night of the week, or at least in every one of these primetime games, unless you take a look at what ESPN provided for us on Saturday night with ABC's Warriors-Sixers game. No Steph because he had the flu. No Draymond, no Klay Thompson, no Ben Simmons, and no Joel Embiid. Yeah, the 5 stars not playing. That is really what's going to draw people to the TV set. But I digress there. But I mentioned there, the NBA is a stars league. The NBA, I would say it was about 10, 12 years ago that it really became where the stars took over control. And the people that are in power by only name only. Whether you're a team president, general manager, or a head coach. So, the players, they call the shots. But we've seen the players become more of divas in this last generation, this last decade or so. And maybe that's because of social media. Maybe it's because these guys brand themselves so much. They're out there more than they ever were before. A whole list of things. And, that leads to where I want to start, because what happened on Saturday morning while I was surprised by the timing of it, while I was somewhat annoyed by the timing of it, it shouldn't really surprise anyone what happened when it came to my Brooklyn Nets, with them announcing that they have mutually parted ways with head coach Kenny Atkinson. And I get the text message from a buddy of mine at about 9:30 in the morning that this went down, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what the hell? They just come off blowing out the Spurs on Friday night, and now you're telling me Atkinson is out as head coach? I would have understood this better a couple of days earlier when, Tuesday night they have the best win of the season, come back from trailing by 21 up in Boston. Karis LeVert having a career-high 51 points there. Come home the next night and lay an egg against the Memphis Grizzlies. Can't even score 80 points. Can't hit the broadside of a barn. And just seem like they don't even belong on the same court with them. Like, you rebound, you have a great game against the Spurs Friday, and now the guy is out. And I'm trying to process this all with knowing that this team's doing it without Kyrie Irving. What a surprise. Without Kevin Durant, which you knew that. And it's a lesser without those two. It's a lesser team than it was last year because you don't have D'Angelo Russell here anymore. You've had to rely more on Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie, who both at times have shown the growth and development that have made the Nets such a good feel-good story over the last year and a half. And when I listened to Sean Marks, the general manager, talk about this in the press conference on Saturday, saying the relationship had run its course, thanking Kenny for everything he's done. I've read a lot of these articles that have come out since this announcement happened, and it does not change my opinion one bit. Kenny Atkinson got a raw deal here. It's one thing if you decided at the end of this year, all right, we're going to make a change here. We're going to move on from Atkinson and go with a new head coach, because you have stars here that weren't here when he took over as coach. And like I just said, Players League, and a lot of times the players went out and get to choose the head coach, get the big say in who they want to be the head coach, which more times than not leads to them picking someone who they can walk all over, that can is essentially there to be a babysitter for this group. But you look at what Kenny Atkinson came into 3.5 years ago. He came in around the same time Sean Marks took over as general manager, and this organization was a disaster. They were in the worst place anybody could be in the NBA. You had a team that was not winning, had a poorly constructed roster, and had no draft picks for the foreseeable future. Their draft picks were either owned by the Boston Celtics, or other teams had the right to swap draft picks with them depending on position. So what did they do? They slowly began the rebuild. Started with trading Brook Lopez, acquiring D'Angelo Russell, who had worn out his welcome in L.A., and they began developing him. They took players off the scrap heap to develop them, such as Spencer Dinwiddie and Joe Harris. Developed Karis LeVert, who was a guy that was thought to be a lottery draft pick until he had ankle issues in college, dropping him to the later portion of the first round. And slowly but surely, each year you saw the Brooklyn Nets getting better. First year they won only 20 games. The second year, they won 28. Last year, they surprised everyone and were a cute, feel-good story, going 42-40 and getting into the postseason before getting knocked out in 5 games by the 76ers. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Kenny Atkinson was a perfect, flawless head coach. There were issues he had. His over-reliance on stretch fours and not wanting to go big at that position. Not giving playing time to certain young players on this team, such as Nicholas Claxton, who at times when he's gotten to play has shown you a little bit of something, shown you that he can be out there at the same time as either Jared Allen or DeAndre Jordan playing the 4 position. Not given playing time to Rodion Kurucs. He's essentially part of the third unit that just comes in blowouts. He's become a lost figure on this team. So he's a guy that was essentially given up on. And the fact that there were a lot of times that this team blew leads in the fourth quarter where they were just overly reliant on shooting 3-pointers, thinking that they're the Golden State Warriors, when they don't have that level of marksmen, when they don't have that level of guys that can make 3-point shots on a consistent basis like that. So yeah, he had his flaws, but like I said, the team got better each year under him. They developed these young players to the point where D'Angelo Russell was able to go out there and get a max contract last summer. Spencer Dinwiddie, they've re-signed him. He's now making, $13-14 million over the next couple of years. Joe Harris has become a very productive player for them. And, you were against the 8 ball without Kyrie Irving for the most part this year. You knew Kevin Durant wasn't playing this year. I thought that he at least deserved the opportunity to go into next year as the head coach. If they got it off to a slow start next year, and after 30 games were 15-15, or even under 500 at the start of the new year, I've been like, all right, I can't argue this. Maybe it's time to move on. Obviously, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have checked out on this guy. But when he hasn't even gotten an opportunity to coach this team at full strength with the players that they added, when he helped lead them to this point, I got a real problem with that. And to me, all of this points at one person. People want to bring up the owner talking to players over the last week. I mean, Joseph Tsai, he needs to back the hell up and stay away from having these private conversations with players. That's where you wound up like owners like the Dolans and the Johnsons and the Wilpons to a certain extent being a little bit too involved in the operations and leading to you being on the list of bad owners in New York sports. But there was also a lot of conversation about this team meeting that took place last week after the blowout loss to the Grizzlies, where veterans were questioning Spencer Dinwiddie's play. Some people were questioning DeAndre Jordan's play. He fired back at some other players. Kevin Durant was bringing up amongst teammates, saying that they are showing poor habits, the habits that are unnecessary for a championship caliber team. But to me, all of this still leads toward one person, and that's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, while he was barely here this year, and the Nets had a losing record when he was playing, you could tell that him and Atkinson probably were not on the same page, but based off the fact that Atkinson, as much as I ripped some of his strategy at time, was about, the team sharing the ball, passing around, looking for the open shot. While Kyrie Irving turned things a lot into ISO situations, was a ball-centric guard and didn't trust a lot of his teammates. I remember after that one game back in January where he's calling out the team, ripping them, saying, we don't have enough pieces here, leaves out some names of players on this team like Joe Harris and Jared Allen, when it's like, bro, you've been here 5 minutes and you're calling out operations, you're calling out the team. And the fact that this team has played better without him, and that him and Atkinson clearly weren't getting along. He probably was in the ear of his buddy Kevin Durant saying, listen, I don't like this coach. I don't think this is the guy to lead us to where we want to be. And Kevin Durant probably in conversations with the owner won a power struggle here. Because I'll say this again, Durant's the only guy on this team that has the cachet, the credibility to get a head coach fired. A lot will disagree with me and say, no, Kyrie's on that level, but come on. Look at the last couple of years for Kyrie Irving. Let's look at Kyrie Irving's track record. He wanted out of Cleveland after winning a championship with LeBron. And you could argue maybe, he saw the writing on the wall. He saw that LeBron was going to be leaving soon and going to Los Angeles. That's fair. But then he goes to Boston and was nothing but a pain in the ass while there over the course of his 2 years. He gets hurt. The team goes far there without him by going to the 7th game of the Eastern Conference Finals before losing to LeBron and the Cavaliers. The next year, he's back. He's talking about how, if you guys will have me back, I would love to be here. Till that turned out to be a total lie. The team does worse without him, gets bounced in 5 games by the Milwaukee Bucks. He comes here, and as I said, the Nets had a better record without him than they do with him. And he has a negative plus-minus. And this is a guy that is always seemingly, I don't know whether you want to call it a problem child or just obnoxious in his ways, to the point where at some point in these next, 8-9 months before next season starts, 8 months actually, Kevin Durant's got to be like, all right, yeah, we got the coach out of here, but you got to chill the hell out, all right? This is my team, not your team, all right? You're only here because I told them that I would only come if you came along with me. Let's not forget who Batman here is, Kyrie. And, hearing all this stuff that Kyrie Irving would want Tyronn Lue as the next head coach, please. Tyronn Lue was a babysitter in Cleveland. I'm not taking any former head coach of LeBron James, because look at these guys. Tyronn Lue, David Blatt, Mike Brown, and none of them have had any success without LeBron James. And a lot of that goes to the credit, the greatness of LeBron, but a lot of that also shows their flaws and shows how bad of head coaches they are, and shows how LeBron was able to outplay their bad coaching at times. But Yeah, just as a Net fan, this whole situation has me kind of annoyed, and it has me feeling, I guess, kind of dirty in a way, kind of that selling our soul. The fact that they were such a cute story this last year and a half, and now they bring in these stars, and seemingly everything that made the Nets fun, made them fun to watch, is going by the wayside. Now, it does put a little bit more pressure on Durant and Irving. It does put a pressure on them of, hey, you got the previous regime out. You got the head coach that was here before you that built this to what it is, that made it an attractive destination for you. You got him out of here. Now, you got to do what you were brought here to do, and that's win. And not just win in the regular season, not just get to an Eastern Conference final or win an NBA final. No, you got to be holding up that championship trophy, whether it's at the end of next year or the year after that. At some point in these next couple of years, these guys better win at least one and probably even two championships to make this all feel worth it and to make yourselves look good on the other end of this. Because right now, you both look like a couple of selfish divas and a couple of guys that were spoiled, got your way. Now the pressure's on you to deliver, and deliver big time. Eastern Conference Finals appearance, that's not going to be good enough. Championship, that's what it's all about. All right, going to take first break of the program, but a lot left to get to here. Some thoughts on other things that went down in the NBA over the course of the weekend at the Staples Center, and not just with the Lakers going 2-0, some problems on the other end, some problems across town. The Nets aren't the only team that I thought made an embarrassment of themselves this week. More injuries in baseball spring training, not just with the Yankees, but across the American League, and some Jet stuff that I want to get to as we are now 9 days away from free agency beginning. So plenty left to get to over the next about 40 minutes or so here. Glad you could join me on this Monday afternoon. You feel like calling in. If you're watching live, you see the number on your screen there. So just sit back, relax. Hell, put your feet up if you feel like doing so, and continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
All right, welcome back to Keeping It Sports with M3 on this lovely Monday afternoon here. Remember, the podcast where you can find it each and every single week, tell your friends about, is on facebook.com/Keeping It Sports with M3, as well as on Twitter, on Twitter at Keeping It Sports. That's the official Twitter account for the podcast, as well as you can follow me on Twitter at M3 Rosansky. That's at MTHREEROZANSKY at M3 Rosansky. If you ever want to send me any questions, comments, thoughts, opinions of anything going on, be sure to do so with the hashtag of AskM3 afterwards, and I'll be sure to get to it at some point. As well as if you're watching live, you see the number on the screen, 1-856-330-4749. Feel free to call in at any part of the program here. Now, I mentioned before, not just with the Nets having an embarrassing week, but it was also an embarrassing week for the New York Knicks. Because, on the surface, you look at it and you say, all right, they have their best win of the year, defeating the Rockets at home. Was a nail biter at the end there, but they were able to survive against this Rocket team. Come back, have a big win yesterday against the Pistons in a matinee matchup at the Garden. They announced a week ago today, they're officially announced their new team president, Leon Rose. But only the Knicks know how to take what looks like a good week and turn it into a completely crappy week. And that's what this nonsense that's gone down with James Dolan and their number one fan, Spike Lee. Up until now, I've looked at the Knicks and I've said, why would any fan go there? Why would I can understand still watching the team, still want to root for your team. But why would you go to the game? The team is awful. They gouge you with prices, and it's not getting any better seemingly anytime soon. What, just so you could chant, sell the team at James Dolan, which unfortunately, he's not going to do. But there was one person amongst all the Knicks fans that remained supportive through and through, even as ugly as this situation all looked, and that was Spike Lee. Even through the last 20 years, where outside of that 3-year stretch with Carmelo Anthony, Tyson Chandler, Amari Stoudemire and company, where they made the playoffs a couple times, even won 54 games one year and made it to the second round of the playoffs. It's been pretty much a bad spot there at MSG, whether it be giving out stupid contracts, trading first-round picks, putting yourself in cap hell, and not being able to get the big star there. You have embarrassments such as the Isaiah Thomas harassment lawsuit. You have Phil Jackson come in and not know what the hell he's doing, just coming in for the big payday to run this organization. You finally felt that maybe you might be heading in a right direction. You have a couple of young players that have looked all right in Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett. You have 7 first-round draft picks over the next 4 years, and some cap room to play with hopefully luring a big star to MSG. But no, you decide to create negative headlines by pissing off your number one fan. First, by having a video go viral in the hallways of Madison Square Garden near the employee entrance last week, where security is crowding around Spike Lee, and you can hear him clearly saying, "No one told me, no one told me," and thinking that they're going to drag him away and arrest him. And we'd come to find out from Spike when he was on ESPN's First Take the next day that for 20 years now, he's been entering through one entrance, the employee entrance on 31st. He gets in the building, gets his ticket scanned, goes up the elevator, and when he comes out of the elevator, there's all the security around him, telling him you have to leave the building, you have to come back in through the VIP entrance on 33rd. And he's saying, what the hell is this? I've been entering this same entrance for years. It's never been a problem one bit. I can't leave the building because you can't get a ticket scanned twice. And once you leave a sporting event, you are not permitted to enter back into the building. So he's not going to be fooled or swindled like that. And if there was such a problem with him entering that entrance, you think that somebody would have called him or there would have been some email sent him, considering they send him an email when his tickets are even half a second. The payment for his season tickets are even half a second late. Season tickets, in fact, over the last 30 years, he's paid around $10 million in total to that organization. So I would say he's been a pretty loyal fan through all of this, all of the nonsense, has represented the organization from a public stance very well. And now you're going to just decide without notice, without any further communication to embarrass him like that. And they embarrass him even more by coming out with a statement with a bogus picture of him and Dolan near his seats that was probably taken a couple of years ago, claiming that they shook hands, all was well at halftime, when Spikes said that didn't happen. Said Dolan only came up to him and said, "We need to talk," and other than that, nothing really went down. And then put out a statement after his appearance on First Take by telling everyone that, he's just trying to make himself a sympathetic figure here. He's just trying to draw attention upon himself. Awful job by the Knicks. In what, as I said, what should have been a good week for them, a change in their hierarchy, bringing in Leon Rose as the new team president, a move that I think is, all right. It's a change from what you're used to. Instead of just bringing in one of Dolan's buddies, someone he's comfortable with, someone with previous basketball experience, you bring in a guy that, he's never been in the inner workings or worked in a NBA front office before, but he's represented some of the biggest names in this league, and represent some of the young stars that are currently on the upcoming in this league. Maybe put a good face, a figurehead there, so that when these guys do become free agents while still in their prime, they can look at this destination and say, that's an attractive spot to go to. But now, when you have this nonsense continuing to drum up here, when you have an owner that does not butt out and continues to make himself part of the story, that's what is always going to push players away. And I don't quite understand this. I don't understand how Dolan can be so smart or look so smart when it comes to the Rangers, why he stays out of the way and lets the hockey people do their job, lets them make decisions like a full-on rebuild 2 years ago, to the point where now you got all these young players on the Rangers, now where they're a couple of points outside of a playoff spot, and leading into a tough West Coast trip coming up this week. He's okay with staying out of business there, letting those guys do their thing, but he's always, for one reason or another, part of the story when it comes to the Knicks, and never for good reasons. It makes no sense to me, and makes me wonder, is this a never-ending cycle of misery that Knicks fans are going through and are going to continue to go through for as long as he's the owner of this organization. Now, elsewhere in the NBA, a couple things here. Number one, as you all know, I'm a little bit of a different breed. I'm built a little bit different, where there's guys in sports where they come off as, I don't know whether you want to say loudmouths, in some people's minds obnoxious, always have a lot to say. But there are those players that aren't necessarily popular by the majority of a fan base, but that I deem to like. Like, for example, in Major League Baseball, Trevor Bauer is a guy that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I respect him. I appreciate him. The fact that he's a good Major League pitcher. He says what's on his mind. He doesn't come across as one of these vanilla guys that is just going to say a lot while saying nothing. And the same can be said by a player in the NBA on the Golden State Warriors, one of the catalysts of their recent dynasty, one Draymond Green. I've always loved the way this guy plays, how you can put him at any one of 5 positions during a game on defense, and always get quality play there. Does a little bit of everything for his team, and is a guy that makes the clutch shots when you need them. But this is a time where Draymond Green has stepped a little bit over bounds, where Draymond Green comes across as a little bit, I don't know if you want to call it obnoxious, but definitely disrespectful in the comments that he made. Because recently on Inside the NBA on TNT, Charles Barkley has been poking fun at him a little bit, saying, we haven't heard from Draymond as much since he started averaging those triple singles. And it's a fair thing to say when you consider Draymond has had a down year by his standards. It is shooting under 40% per game, is averaging 8 points and just over 6 rebounds and 6 assists per game. So he hasn't been the triple-double threat, the all-around player that we've grown used to over these last 5 years. And as we all know, the Warriors, it's been a bad year for them, but you would expect it with the injuries to Klay Thompson, to Steph Curry, Kevin Durant leaving, and the fact that when Draymond Green has been healthy, they've kept him on a bit of a minutes restriction and have kept him away from playing both ends of a back-to-back. But the comments that he made toward Barkley I thought were a bit disrespectful when he goes on to say over the weekend, Barkley should stop before I take his job. No rings, can't sit at this table. On a couple of fronts here. Number one, it is Charles's job to give commentary on things he sees around the league, to talk about this stuff. The Warriors are having a bad year by their standards. He's got to give an opinion on that, especially when they're on TNT. They've unfortunately, no one could have seen this coming, see them being this bad or being without Steph as long as they were. But they were already in the schedule to be on a lot of the Thursday night doubleheaders. So, whether it's Charles, Kenny, Ernie, Shaq, they were going to give their thoughts and opinions on what's going on there. But to say, he should stop talking on one end is ridiculous because he's paid to talk. But then to go and take the unfair, unnecessary, easy blindside shot of saying no rings, can't sit at this table, listen, Draymond, you got 3 rings, and you were a crucial part of the Warriors winning those 3 titles. But let's not go and act like you're on Charles Barkley's level, all right? Barkley is a Hall of Famer. Barkley is one of, I don't know where you want to measure it, one of the top 25, top 30 greatest players to ever play this game. He have his flaws, yeah. It wasn't always in the best of shape. That's why he had the nickname of the round-bound rebound. But he was a great player during his days. Problem is, there was always the roadblocks when he had the chance to get there. It wasn't like, he was a scrub. He just ran into better teams at the inopportune times. Being in the West, running into the Utah Jazz, being in the East, running into Jordan and the Bulls there. There was always those barriers blocking him from getting to the finals, getting that shot, that moment of glory. Why should not having a ring take away from his greatness, take away from how great of a player he truly was? I mean, hell, Dan Marino doesn't have any Super Bowl rings, and he's still regarded as one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks to ever play. I mean, if in some people's mind, they argue that if you just take overall his individual numbers, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. Are we going to slight him for the fact that he was only able to get to 1 Super Bowl and didn't have a great team around him for most of those years? So no. So for Draymond, while I'm normally a supporter of his, normally come to his defense unless he's kicking guys in the crotch for no reason. For him to take this unnecessary shot at Charles, it to me it's unnecessary. Charles was just poking fun at him with saying he's averaging triple single. He wasn't disrespecting him as a man, wasn't disrespecting him as a player. This is not like a couple years ago when Shaq seemingly had this vendetta against JaVale McGee and was picking the most insignificant things to put him on shacking a fool. So Draymond he needs to shut up, take himself out of the limelight for a little bit, come back next year when he's got Steph healthy, Clay healthy. They're going to have a couple of lottery draft picks coming up here, and that team will be, once again, ready to roll and be a top threat in the West Conference. But show a little respect. Show a little respect for those who have set this table for you to enjoy all the riches that come from this great game. All right, going to take another break here, come back on the other side, turn the page to some baseball. The Astros story once again coming up this week, as well as some injuries to talk about here. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
It's been 48 years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. 'Cause 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 'cause
one thing that really has upset the fans is you cheat, you win a championship, there is no suspension, and then there's no remorse. And the last one I think is probably the worst one because people want to see remorse. They want a real, authentic apology, and they have not received that thus far.
Those are the words of Alex Rodriguez on ESPN last Tuesday afternoon during their broadcast of the Red Sox-Yankees spring training game, finally giving some thoughts and opinions on the Astros scandal, the sign-stealing scandal. And, you know, I give him a lot of credit because up until now, A-Rod's kept himself out of the limelight, kept the attention off of him, kept away from giving comments, as he would tell here in this next clip that I have for you all. Let's see.
A guy who has made, you know, as many mistakes as anybody on the biggest stage. I served the longest suspension in Major League Baseball history. You know, it cost me well over $35 million. And you know what? I deserved that. And as a result, I came back. I owned it after acting like a buffoon for a long time. I had my apologies, and then I went dark. And I wanted my next move to be contrite, but I also wanted to go out and play good baseball and change my narrative. And the way you change your narrative is you have to be accountable. You've earned all this negative talk. You've earned whatever comes your way, including whether it's hit by a pitch or negative press. You have divorced yourself from having the ability to protect yourself.
And I appreciate those comments. Now, first off, he doesn't need to bring up the costing himself over $35 million because he made probably close to $500 million over the course of his playing career. So no one's going to feel sympathy for A-Rod there. But to acknowledge his past transgressions, his past mistakes when talking about this, not coming off as a guy who's sitting up on his hill looking down at someone, realizing that he's made mistakes in the past, acknowledging those and saying that this is how you do it. You got to show remorse. You got to, in your apology, you got to show that you're willing to accept any backlash publicly and amongst your peers from what you did. I respect that from him. He's not like, his colleague Jessica Mendoza, who was calling Mike Fiers a snitch, or his colleague from Fox, David Ortiz, who had the gall to call Mike Fiers a snitch. I mean, David, look in your own closet. Look at the skeletons in your own closet before you cast stones at somebody else there. But to acknowledge his own past problems and bring up why players around the league, why fans are upset. They cheated. We know they cheated. They know they cheated, and they got away with it. And they didn't get punished. They didn't get the trophy taken away from them, didn't serve any suspensions, not getting any of the playoff bonuses that they got from that, or the championship rings that they got from ownership, not getting any of that taken away from them. And in their apologies, they showed no remorse. They acted like, everyone else is the problem, and they're some innocent bystander. I mean, they came across like they want us to have sympathy for them when that's the last thing that we're ever going to consider showing from. You got to show that, yeah, we own up to it. We screwed up. We messed up. We cheated the game, and be willing to say that, you know what, there's going to be backlash from it. We don't expect you guys to forgive us right now, but we hope over time we can earn your trust again and accept any punishment that comes our way. Whether we get hit by pitchers this year, get ripped by every media team member that covers us when we go to a new city. We've divorced ourselves from the right to benefit of the doubt for the foreseeable future. Instead, as I said, no remorse. Their initial talking at the Fan Fest back in January, they acted like it was one big joke. They had written prepared statements that took all of about a minute and a half on the day of the apology. And then in the locker room, you got them wanting to run and hide from it, especially one Mr. Justin Verlander. And you got Dusty Baker, who was not even part of the scandal, wasn't even part of the organization there, now coming out crying wolf to Major League Baseball, hoping that, you got to protect our players, protect them from any retaliation coming our way. Please, Dusty, back the hell off. Your guys deserve whatever is coming their way, because they have once again added another black eye onto America's pastime and continued what everyone has thought for about 30 years now, and that's baseball is full of nothing but cheaters. Now, one good thing to come out in baseball news last week was with the Brewers announcing a contract extension to Christian Yelich. And Yelich was 2 years away from free agency. Had 2 years left on the original deal for $26.5 million. Well, he had negotiated with the Brewers 7-year extension on top of that for $188.5 million, making it a total deal of 9 years for $215 million. And I got to say, that's a steal for Milwaukee. Yes, Christian Yelich is going to be, 37 by the time the deal is done. But this is a guy that we knew he was a good player when he was with the Marlins. But in the 2 years he's been with Milwaukee, he's evolved himself into one of the best players in the sport. He's a guy that he hits the open market. You're probably looking at him getting paid somewhere in between what Mike Trout is getting paid and what Bryce Harper is getting paid. Because, while no one's Mike Trout, he's shown himself to be more durable than Bryce Harper. And the last 2 years, he's been a better player than Bryce Harper. And for this to happen with a small market team like the Milwaukee Brewers, for them to be able to work out a team-friendly deal like this, I say team-friendly, for 9 years, $215. He would have got $30 million per year on the open market over the course of an 8 or 9 year contract. So for this to happen, for this team to keep around their star, the face of their franchise for the foreseeable future, I think it's very good for the sport. And you just hope more of these teams start doing this. You hope some of these teams that, they're not in big market spots. They're not getting big revenue. They're not, playing in front of, sellout packed crowds every night like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Washington Nationals are, name a couple more of these, the Cubs. They're not, always on national TV like that. But they're showing a willingness in realizing they have a great player here and not wanting him to run away, not wanting to escape from them. And I respect that. You just hope that some of these teams like the Pirates, the Rays, the Oakland A's, the Marlins, the teams that the Players Association have grievances against the league right now, saying, they're not using revenue sharing properly, their salaries have gone down each of the last couple of years, even with the A's and Rays remaining competitive. You just hope some of those teams actually start spending money and stop screaming poverty. It's one of the main reasons why I've been saying for the longest time that there needs to be a salary floor in Major League Baseball. There needs to be some kind of threshold that every team must spend up to. They play more games than any other sport. They got the strongest union in all of sports. I'm cool with the fact that they have no salary cap, not just because I'm a Yankee fan, but they bring in more money than any of the other sports. They should have no salary cap. But no, you shouldn't just have some of these small market teams with ownership putting the revenue sharing right in their pocket, or the luxury tax share right in their pocket. Should have to go out there, spend, and at least try to have competitive product put out on the field. Now, we've had a lot of talk about injuries over the course of spring training so far, especially with the Yankees. James Paxton going down with the back injury until end of May, beginning of June, having to have that cyst removed. Luis Severino, his Tommy John surgery. Giancarlo Stanton, his grade 1 calf strain, although he started to do some workouts, started to amp up his activity and is getting closer to actual baseball activity as we speak. And everyone wants to put the blame on the Yankees, and rightfully so. A lot of these have been misdiagnosed, especially in the case of the pitchers. A lot of things were misdiagnosed last year, leading to them having 30 players spend time on the IL over the course of the year. But the one time that I'm actually blaming the player for this, I got to say this, it's got to be with Aaron Judge. The news that came out the other day that he has a stress fracture in his first right rib. They're shutting him down for 2 weeks before hopefully beginning baseball activity. It in no way is going to be ready for opening day. And in my mind, is probably not going to play the first month of the season. Probably won't be back until about May 1st, because he's going to have to go through now a full spring training. And you come to find out that this is something that happened in September of last year when he was diving for a ball in the fifth inning of a game last September. You could see him squint a little bit, hold to his right side before going back to playing his position. And he never really brought this up again. They checked him out. He said he was fine. And then this started to crop up during his off-season workouts. Thought he could get through it and doesn't bring it up until spring training. I'm like, Aaron, I can understand wanting to tough it out, wanting to grind through something, but you're the face of the franchise. You're one of the most important players on this team. And I can appreciate a guy wanting to battle through general soreness, fatigue, but when you have something that's actually painful going on in you, you got to tell the team, you got to tell the doctors, because you're only hurting yourself and you're hurting the team by keeping you away from the playing field. And you're definitely hurting yourself and the team, because in the team's case, they don't have one of the best 10 players in the sport out on the field. And you're hurting yourself by another year with an injury, and the fact that you're coming up on arbitration for the second time next year. You're a couple of years away from free agency, and you want that big contract from the Yankees. You want that contract that will solidify you as the face of the franchise for the foreseeable future, and probably get you named eventually the team captain. They're not going to want to spend on you if they think you're injury riddled, if you're going to consistently have injury problems. Now, 2 years ago, that was flukish, getting hit on the wrist by a pitch. But last year, the strained oblique. And then in September, having this injury that has led to you now missing time to start this year. That's not good. That's on you, bro. That's on you. You got to come out and say when something's wrong. It's one thing if you're just feeling sore, a little fatigued, but when there's something painful going on and you have to adjust your off-season workouts to accommodate that, that's not something you should be battling through, because you're only hurting yourself, and now you're hurting the team by you not being available to start the year. But hey, the Yankees are not the only ones that are dealing with injuries right now. You got Verlander and Sale both dealing with injuries. Chris Sale, there was all this speculation, scare with him last week, and until about Thursday when the Red Sox came out and announced that he's not going to need Tommy John surgery right now, but he's has a flexor strain, is not going to throw for a week or two before we begin a less strenuous exercise to get him back up to strength. My issue there is you sent him to 3 different doctors, including well-renowned James Andrews, before coming to this decision, before coming to this. So this, to me, tells me you were going to keep sending him to doctors for second, third, fourth opinions until you got the answer that you wanted to hear. But no, you're just prolonging the inevitable with Sale. It feels like you're prolonging. He's going to need Tommy John surgery at some point, because you saw he had the arm problems at the end of 2018, was able to battle back and be a postseason hero for you. Last year he came into the season and had the worst start to a season in his career. I think his ERA was something around 5 after 10 starts, and you eventually shut him down around the end of August. And now he's dealing with elbow problems again. I can understand if there's, if it's a slight tear and not wanting to go in and do the surgery. But if you're just prolonging this and saying, oh, he doesn't need it right now, when there's a good chance he's going to need it in the future, what happens if, say he comes back in May and then pitches 2 months, and all of a sudden in July he tears that thing even worse and has to get Tommy John surgery then? How foolish are you looking then? Because then you lose all of the rest of this year and next year. And it adds on to the foolishness because they did something that they didn't need to do. Last year, at the beginning of the year, they gave him a 5-year, $160 million contract extension when he was, still 2 years away from free agency. You give a guy that had arm troubles the previous year $30 million per year. It just made no sense. And now without Sale, it's going to lead to what I've thought about the Red Sox all along, and that's they're going to be pretty much a non-factor when it comes to this baseball race. To me, the bigger story is Verlander having this lat strain and probably missing the start of the season, because now you're dealing with, you got Zach Greinke there, but Garrett Cole left as a free agent. You got Lance McCullers coming off of Tommy John surgery, and you got to figure he'll be on some kind of limit. And then relying on a whole bunch of kids after that to fill in rotation spots. So, nothing's good about any of these injuries. You don't want to have any of the stars go down for any period of time. It's the injury bug going around in this sport is not just designated to one team. Everybody seems to be dealing with it right now. All right, I'm going to take one last break, come back on the other side, get to some football, some things that have been going on the last couple days, close out the show from there. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Welcome back to Keeping It Sports with M3. A couple more minutes left here, but a few more things I want to get to. First, of all the teams I root for, the only one that did not come off like complete numbskulls this week were the New Jersey Devils. They had a couple good wins over St. Louis and the Rangers and MSG on Saturday night. And even in what's been a down year for them, unfortunately, after making so many moves in the offseason, getting the first overall draft pick in Hughes, and continuing to develop some young players, they haven't made an embarrassment of themselves. But with the Jets, of course, have to put themselves out there in the news on two fronts. One with a former Jet and one with a current Jet. The former Jet we'll actually start with, and that is one Mr. Muhammad Wilkerson, who last Tuesday actually was arrested and charged with DWI, possession of marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. Tell you what a bum that guy turned out to be. I mean, you go back to the early years of this podcast when I was first starting this out. One of the major themes I was preaching was a contract extension for Muhammad Wilkerson, because he was considered one of the better young defensive linemen in the NFL at that point. He was considered one of the top upcoming young linemen in the league and thought to only get better. I said, all right, Jets, you can get him probably for a team discount and re-sign him right now, so then you could afford some other players. The guy deserves his extension. But no, they waited till the last possible minute, signed him, put the franchise tag on them that stopped them from being able to bring back Damon Snacks Harrison. And he eventually, before the deadline to that, signed a big 5-year, $86 million contract with $35 million guaranteed. And that was coming off, if you remember, a broken leg in the final game of the 2015 season up in Buffalo, that disaster that prevented the Jets from making the playoffs. And he turned into a total bum after that. I don't know whether it was just the new contract, if it was me and my crew running into him, Leonard Williams and company, and we'll talk about another failed defensive lineman, running into all those guys on our trip to Denver in December of 2017. But Muhammad Wilkerson just turned into an all-out louse, lived off the $35 million guaranteed, was late to team meetings, didn't give a damn after that, and it made me feel like an ass. And I'll explain how. For the first time ever, we are going to unveil a prop here on Keeping It Sports with M3, and that is this jersey. I got this jersey. Let me back up a little bit. I got this jersey in December of 2015 for Christmas. It's a Muhammad Wilkerson Salute the Troops jersey. See that? And I've worn this maybe one time. Opening day of the 2016 season, and that's been pretty much it from there. Because the guy, he turned out to be a fraud, and I'm not going to wear the jersey of someone who does not give a damn. So with this story, I figured it would be a good time to bring this in. Because there are 5 things I love in life. My family, my friends, my sports teams, pro wrestling, and most importantly, my country. I bleed red, white, and blue, and I have a great love and affection for the men and women that sacrifice their lives and their future for our safety, our protection, our rights as Americans. That's why I wear, Salute the Troops jerseys. That's why, if you're looking at the hat I'm wearing right now, the Yankee hat I'm wearing, it is a Salute the Troops baseball hat. So, I have a great amount of respect and appreciation for everything they do. And when I can, I like to blend that in with sports. But I don't like wearing this jersey because it has Muhammad Wilkerson's name on it. So I figured I'd bring this jersey here today and put this out there. If there's anybody watching, anyone listening to this podcast right now that knows places that I can send this jersey, get the name of this louse ripped off the back of it or taken off the back of it. I want kept it in good condition. And instead where the name is, instead have it say Jet Fan Since. Because look, the number is 96. My first year as a Jet fan was when I was 8 years old in 1996, and I watched Rich Kotite coach this team to a 1-15 record. That's the pain and suffering I have been through as a fan. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that I've been here through all of the bad times and the few good times, the 3 AFC title appearances. I'd like to wear this jersey again. So if anyone out there, a place I could send this to and not be handing over a hand and foot to pay for getting the name on the back of this change, please send me a tweet at M3 Rosansky on Twitter, at Keeping It Sports. Comment on the Facebook page somewhere. Send me some kind of comment, some place that you know of, so I can get that jersey changed and I never have to look at Wilkerson's name again. Now, the other thing involving the Jets, of course, is the story that came out with Quinnen Williams. And, this is just a stupid story. This is a dumb story. The fact that he got arrested at LaGuardia last Friday for possession of an unlicensed weapon that he tried to bring onto a plane. He had in his baggage, I guess it was a little handgun that he owned, and he tried to sneak it through and get on the airplane with it. Now, thankfully, the gun was not loaded. He had no ammo on him. It's just he didn't have the license to it, or the weapon wasn't licensed in the state of New York, whatever. But it's a bad look for Williams coming off of what was a disappointing rookie year for you when you're taken where you were taken at number 3 overall, and the 2 other defensive linemen, pass rushers that you are compared to had Rookie of the Year campaigns in Bosa and Allen. And what you're going to be most known for out of your first year is the fact that, you got detained at LaGuardia Airport for a possession of an unlicensed weapon. How stupid do you got to be? One, no, I'm not going to get into gun control here. I'm not going to get into any of that. but you're going to have it, at least make sure it's licensed in this state, and don't try and cross state lines with it, because A, you make yourself look like a dope, and B, what if it was loaded? You'd get in a whole hell of a lot of trouble that you'd have to deal with, and it just adds another embarrassing stain onto this franchise, which I've told you before. When it comes to the 4 sports teams I root for, the Yankees, the Jets, the Devils, and the Nets, I view them as almost like children. The Yankees are the one that you take the most pride in. They're the ones that you think are always bringing home that A+. The Nets are the one that it's always, kind of little engine that could with them. The Devils are the kid that you expect the least out of, and you're surprised to when they do something good. A little bit the same way with the Nets. The Jets are the one that always have you smacking your head against the wall, and they always disappoint you the most. And you're wondering, why am I disappointed? This is what I've come to expect from them over the course of my life. So, just another embarrassing stain for the Jets, and hopefully they can try and clear up some of this embarrassment as we head toward NFL's start of their new year coming up next week with free agency beginning. And of course, a lot of storylines there. One, are the Cowboys going to get a contract done with Dak Prescott or have to place the franchise tag on him? The recent reports have it that they've offered him $33 million per year and $105 million guaranteed. $3 million less than what Carson Wentz gets as far as guarantees. And now listen, Dak Prescott has grossly, and I mean grossly, outplayed his rookie contract. As a 4th round draft pick, he's deserved more than that. But he is not. I've watched him a lot because Cowboys seem to always be the NFL's America Game of the Week on Fox every Sunday. He is not worth that kind of money. See, I always hear these talking heads on TV, especially one Mr. Max Kellerman of ESPN's First Take saying that, oh, he's just the next guy up. He's the next quarterback up. And I'm like, no, time out here, all right? All of these guys are not worth the same. The next quarterback up. Please. He has, several people to thank for the fact that he's worth that kind of money in this market. Kirk Cousins, who's getting paid north of $30 million per year and got $90 million guaranteed. He's better than him. Then you got the trio of Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, and Andy Dalton, who all, when they got their contract extensions, were getting paid anywhere in the neighborhood of $25 to $27 million a year with big guarantees on top of that. I mean, not all of these guys should be getting paid in the neighborhood of 27 to $35 million. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, yes. Patrick Mahomes, eventually, yes. At one point, did Tom Brady deserve getting paid that? Yes. Russell Wilson, yes. Was there a point that, the likes of, you could argue, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger deserved to get paid in that neighborhood? Yes. Peyton Manning, yes. But not these kind of guys, not this second and third tier quarterbacks. I don't think Wentz should be getting $108 million guaranteed. As much as I like the guy, he doesn't stay healthy. And Jared Goff had one good year, and he got north of $100 million guaranteed and is getting paid, $30 million plus per season. And that's killing the Rams salary cap wise because he's come back down to earth this past year. All right. Dak, if he's being offered this, he should take it, thank his lucky stars, and run with this. Because, Now, I mentioned not all quarterbacks are made the same, but I want him to get this because A, it will give him what he's deserved for outplaying his rookie contract, and B, it'll just screw up things for the Cowboys because they're overspending on a quarterback that isn't elite, that is good, but hasn't reached the level of greatness that they think he's at. Plus, NFL owners are my least favorite amongst all these sports right now, especially with their current proposal out there for the next CBA that the players have until this Thursday to vote on. And you've seen a lot of back and forth. You've seen stars like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt, the Pouncey brothers all come out and say no, they vote no to this. You've seen the likes of Nate Soldier and Ryan Fitzpatrick give their reasons on why they're voting yes to this. And now you got this report that the owners are hoping that they vote no so that they can renegotiate because they feel that they are conceding too much in this and want to push for not just a 17th game, but an 18th game as well. I mean, these silver spoon pieces of crap who never had to work a damn day in their life, but had hand over foot riches since the point that they came out of the womb. I mean, they just make embarrassments of themselves, mockeries of themselves. So that's why I want Jerry Jones, one of the biggest scumbags of them all, to be paying hand over foot for Dak Prescott, who, as I said, he's good. He's just not elite. He's not what Patrick Mahomes is. He's not on the level of Russell Wilson or Watson or some of these other guys, or what Aaron Rodgers still is capable of being. He's overplayed his rookie contract, but I hope for his sake here, he's not overplaying his hand, leading to him not getting the payday. Now, I mentioned owners I don't like a second ago, and another one of those is Robert Kraft. And in the next week or so, we're going to see if either Robert Kraft is a very happy person or he's going to be crying because one of his favorite sons, a.k.a. Tom Brady, is leaving home. And you know what, people? We've almost made it. We've almost made it all the way. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not even going to try and guess. In my mind, I've said this from the beginning. I'm not going to believe a word of this. All of this comes across as nonsense to me, and I'm not going to believe he's leaving until that moment where I see him sign a contract and hold a press conference holding up the jersey of another team. But we've almost made it. January 4th seems like forever ago when they were knocked off by the Titans in the wild card round of the playoffs. And every week, every day since then, there's been a new story coming out about Tom. Oh, he's going to the Titans. He's going to the Chargers. He's going to the Oakland Raiders. Oh, the 49ers, there's mutual interest there. We've even heard some speculation about possibly the Giants or the Bears along the way, believe it or not. I don't know what to believe. And quite frankly, it's all gone in one ear and out the other as far as speculation on these teams. But we're almost there. We are almost there. The speculation is almost over. 7 days from today, legalized tampering begins in the NFL. So let's all stand up, give ourselves an applause, congratulate ourselves for making it through this time period. And let's just hope that Tom, being the fact that this is a salary cap sport and teams need to make decisions on their off seasons, doesn't take forever in making this decision. And within, I'll say, 9 days from now, when teams can actually sign the players, when that whole legalized tampering moratorium ends, we have a decision, and we know where Tom Brady is going to spend the ending days of his career. And that, my friends, was Keeping It Sports with M3 for Monday, March 9th, 2020. Everyone have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys again same time next week. Break down the NCAA tournament bracket and hope Tom Brady knows where he's going by then. But for now, peace.
We have to go. Good night, everybody.
I have had enough of you.
Thank you for all the fun. Thank you. Hey, shut up, will ya?
I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to smell you. Now leave. I'll be back.